Hello, everyone. Lauren Wild here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Weaving the Wild. Today, we're going to be talking about the new moon in Virgo. That is Saturday, August the 27th. It's very early in the morning, and it's going to take place in the early decan, the first decan of Virgo at 4 degrees of Virgo. So I like to pull a card to get a sense of, what might be some of the focuses that we would want to focus on during this new moon in Virgo. And the card that I pulled from the Ancestors Oracle, Ancestor Spirit Oracle card. That's what it looks like. What I got was treat your body well, which is such a Virgoan concept. And so before we dive deeply into this oracle message, what I want to talk about is the general energy of the new moon as well as Virgo. And so what we're talking about here is mainly the aspect of health, wellness, routine, a deep sense of well-rounded, wholesome approaches. Wholesome, not really necessarily in the sense of like good or pure, although Virgo does rule that. But I don't know if you guys know many Virgos like I do. They may appear to be a goody two-shoe, or they may appear to be like this puritanical kind of saint energy, which Virgo also rules. But once you really get to know them, they can be some of the naughtiest of all of the zodiac signs. I mean that, so yeah, all of that being said, I'll get more into the details of that as we progress through our short but effective communications here today. So let's just backdrop a little bit before we get into the new moon in Virgo. And that is right now, today, when I record this, it is August 24th, and Uranus stationed retrograde at 18 degrees of Taurus. So that's an important thing, because anytime these big planets, they shift or they change, they create much of like a large ship turning in the middle of the ocean. And it's almost like a total stop and a full redirect. Now, it's not that the planet moves like as long or as like Neptune or Pluto, but it's still a transpersonal planet, meaning that it has major effects on not just us personally, but generationally, as well as the consciousness, the collective consciousness of all people, especially because Saturn, which it is now squaring again since it's retrograde, is in Aquarius, which rules the community and the collective consciousness. So we've got quite a few things going on. There's change, but this change has been long coming change that is very much about breaking down systems of top-down power and control and freedom and personal sovereignty. Now, Uranus is in the fixed planet of Taurus. And so why that's important is because Taurus is the most rigid in terms of not wanting to change things. Virgo can be very rigid as well. And so what this energy is bringing up is an opportunity to begin to organize and analyze our commitments, our time, our finances, the Virgoan and earth sign practicalities. And that is the things that are actually material, the things that are real in terms of physicality. So money would be something that we could count. Our properties, our assets, our bodies, our routines, our daily things that we rely on and count on, they're definitely going to be brought up into this lunation majorly. And so my big thing that I keep telling my students is rebuild your sadhana, your centering practice, your spiritual practice. Every time that we get a shift in the major seasons, which we're coming up on autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere and spring equinox in the southern hemisphere, we're looking at an energetic shift in not just the environment, but our bodies as well, because our bodies are nature. We are connected because we are nature, right? So as above, so below. And it's time to bring a sense of structure and routine back to our systems, back to our mindsets, back to our bodies, because these are really long-term aspects. I have a lot of people ask me like, Lauren, when is it going to get better? When is it going to stop being so crazy? And I tell them all the time, it's not. When we had the eclipse, conjunct Pluto and the South Node in Capricorn on January 10th of 2020. That was when everything changed. And that was the shift of the paradigm, right? That was when it really started to change. And so we need long-term strategies to deal with endurance. And that is what I think that this new moon in Virgo is going to bring us, is an opportunity to readjust and to analyze our schedules and to look at what is clutter at this point, what is unaligned, what is holding us back, what is old stagnant energy, and how can we look to the South Node, which Uranus, when it's stationed retrograde, squared the South Node as well. What can we release? What can we transmute? What can we let go of? How can we face our fears? How can we purge? South Node in Scorpio. This is about letting go. This is about an actual act of transformation and facing our fears. Now, the North Node in Taurus is still asking us, don't be extreme, be practical. Is this sustainable? Find practical, sustainable ways to materialize your dreams. Find ways to restructure your dreams that are going to actually happen as the world is changing, as money becomes more and more electronic, as our communications become more and more electronic. We have less of a need to be physical in body and more online. As the economy continues to shift and change, as we continue to shift and change, and our collective consciousness and uncollective consciousness begins to shift, we need new skills, we need new routines, we need new things to help us move forward. And so I just wanted to give some sense to the background of Uranus stationing retrograde. Now, another thing that's interesting is that Mercury is now in its shadow period of its retrograde, which will be starting at 8 degrees of Libra in the second week of September. I think it's the 10th. I'd have to go back and look at it. And why that's important is because it is already getting glitchy. Okay, when Mercury stations and it starts to go into a shadow for about the first 3 to 4 days, you want to pay attention because it's already bringing up some of the things that are coming up. Now it's going to be in Libra. So we're talking about partnerships. We're talking about best friends. We're talking about lovers and romantic situations. And a retrograde is always a looking back and a looking within. And so we need to recognize that during this new moon period of time, which is going to carry us all the way through Virgo season until we get to Libra season, is we are going to have this aspect of wanting to reestablish new routines that are healthier for us. Okay. Virgo rules things like our actual daily routines. It rules things as much as like, even if you have a cat, you need to deal with its cat poop, there's very it's very mundane. It's very normal. It's very much part of like the mundane, but Virgo is also magic because it is the priest and the priestess of the zodiac. So it is associated with the Virgin, but really it's the Vestal Virgin, meaning whole unto oneself, sovereign unto oneself. It is the priest and the priestess and the hermit. So, or like even the ascetic monk. And so this is very powerful energy for realigning with your spiritual center. And that is why I keep saying, come back to your sadhana, right? Craft something of like, or maybe your grounding center point is, I need to get up 30 minutes in the morning and do a grounding meditation and light a candle and do gratitude affirmations. That's what mine has been so far. Maybe it's like, I need to go to yoga, and that checks all the boxes for me. It might be like, I need to drink more water, and but it's Virgo, so it's not sporadic. Sorry. It is very much planned, organized, and analytical when it's in its power. Okay. So I just wanted to give some sense of a background on the Virgo energy in that. The other thing is to bring up the fact that it is an aspect to many other pieces that we'll talk about as we continue to progress through this reading. But we want to talk really quickly about this card, and that is treat your body well. So this is the message for the full collective. And so it says exercise, meditate, and do body massage. So manipulating the actual body. So let's see what it says in the rest of this reading, and then I'll go into more of the specifics. Okay. So, in Thai culture was influenced by Buddhism in the 12th century. Their holistic approach to living well and avoiding illness included physical activity, meditation, diet, herbal medicine, and massage, known as Thai massage, which combines Ayurvedic principles, acupuncture, and assisted yoga positions. This technique is based upon the energy lines or the meridians, and it has the idea that these meridian lines are responsible for balancing and energizing the physical, mental, and emotional processes in the body. So, why this is important in terms of Virgo is because Virgo is incredibly holistic. It is associated with Chiron in modern astrology, and it's the second rulership of Mercury in older astrology. So it is about the mind, it is highly analytical, but it's different than Gemini. Gemini is curiosity for curiosity's sake. It loves to be entertained and involved in dialogue and communication. But Virgo has a point. It wants information to prove or validate something or to organize a system. It's very more managerial, but its modern day ruler is Chiron, which is the wounded healer, which is associated with chiropractic arts. And so we're looking at holistic care. We are looking at vitamins, supplements, meditation, mindfulness, breath work. It's not necessarily like singing bowls, that's Pisces, but the Virgo Pisces axis is all about healing in one way or another. And so anytime we get a new moon in Virgo, we get an opportunity for healing. And so with these retrogrades happening, I feel like it's a retroactive look at something that needs healing in this time. And so my question to you would be like, is there something, a mindset even, or a routine, or a habit that you have that is very much a part of your everyday life that needs to shift and change? How can we utilize Uranus to help us in this pivot? How do we help ourselves to get back into a place where we are drinking our water, we're going for a walk, and we are dealing with the consistent chaos that has been this major paradigm shift that isn't going to go away? And so I feel like Uranus stationing retrograde just 3 days before this aspect is like a little nudge that's like, hey, these shocks to your nervous system, these shocks to your body, these are consistent messages that something isn't working and it needs long-term holistic change. Don't look at just one problem, look at the whole, all right? That's very, very Virgo energy, all right? So anytime that we get new moon in Virgo, I love, it's my favorite new moon. I love that Virgo season started on a Monday this year. It started Monday last year. It is like new starts and new beginnings. So anytime there's a new moon, it means the sun and the moon are in exact conjunction, which will be at 4 degrees of Virgo. So early Virgo, it very much still cares about Leo things. So like organizing creative projects, organizing your kids' schedules. I don't know about you guys, but my kids just went back to school. So that feels like organization coming back. From an anthropological or even a like Celtic pagan wheel of the year perspective, this is when our ancestors started to do harvesting, like early harvesting, because it's early harvest festival, and canning and organizing of food to get through the dark months, because they didn't have convenience stores or grocery stores to just go pick up something if they were hungry in the middle of the night or in the middle of the winter. They had to be prepared. And so I feel like this new moon is asking us particularly to be prepared, just for these consistent changes that are asking us for endurance. The North Node in Taurus is asking us for endurance. Now, as we move through at the Virgo season, it's a lot of change that's happening because of the fact that the North Node is bearing back down on the nodal axis again because it's retrograde, which means that the collective destiny is being driven a lot by Uranus, which is in a square to Saturn, which was the major transit that we experienced in 2021. We had 3 major transits that were on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2021, the middle of August this time last year. I think it was like the 14th or the 21st of August of 2021, and then Christmas Eve. So it was December 24th with an eclipse. So it's like these messages are probably similar to what you have been dealing with for a while. You're just getting further in the process, and it needs more bones. It needs more structure. And that is where Saturn is there to help us. He is there to try to help us create more long-term structure for these changes that are taking a long time. It's an 8-year transit, you know. Uranus is a transpersonal planet, which means it's going to take some time. So during this aspect, we have quite a few things that are pulling down on us. I asked for a couple of extra cards. And so some of the extra messages that I got were connecting with water. So making sure that you are drinking water or connecting to the energy of water for cleansing, which Virgo is very closely connected to, is cleansing and purity. This might be a time where you need to start engaging in spiritual baths, where you wash other people's energy off you, or you transmit old energy that isn't for you anymore, in salt baths. The very, very powerful protective rituals you can work with water during this time. It also says enjoy new beginnings. So celebrate and embrace change. You may even want to socialize during this period of time, which is a little different than Virgo. Virgo is the hermit in tarot, and so it might make us go a little bit more internal and kind of want to process our internal worlds. So begin writing. So some of you are probably going to feel this sense of needing to publish or write or create something and complete a task. That's very much that Mercury retrograde in any air sign is writing, communicating, and relating and thinking. So begin creating and completing your work. Nature spirits, elves, fairies, and rock formations. So Virgo is very closely associated with nature and the cycles and seasons of nature. So going outside, it is an earth sign. Put your feet on the ground and connect to the earth. And then the last but not least was psychic strength. So these are they all wanted to come out. So shield, talismans, and embracing golden light. So again, it keeps coming up again and again and again. And that is like, take care of your body, and also purify, cleanse, clear anything that doesn't work anymore, transmute it, let it go. And that could range all the way from like getting a colonic, because Virgo rules the digestion system and you might be really backed up, to changing your diet, to drinking more water, to purging your house and getting rid of a bunch of shit that doesn't work anymore, doesn't serve you anymore. I call that black bag magic. Get a big black bag and walk through your house, and just anything that's collecting dust that you don't care about anymore, get rid of it. Embrace minimalism, if you will. You don't have to necessarily even do that, but what sparks joy? Because materials they hold energy, and there might be things that you have that are still holding you to the past, and you need to let go of them to make space for this new future that you're trying to create, okay, that is healthier and more aligned for you. So hopefully that is helpful to you, those pieces, those messages. If I could give you a few pieces of advice for Virgo season, it would be make time to spend time alone by yourself to get a sense of what feels healthy for you right now, and make a list of what your life looks like, what your commitments look like, and how do those line up with what you feel like is healthy and holistic for you right now. The second thing I would say is ground, go outside and spend time in nature. It really is that simple. Like, take off your shoes and go spend 20 minutes outside walking around. Our bodies are energy, and the earth is energy. And so the earth pulls energy off of us that is chaotic and out of balance. And so by walking and earthing or grounding, we can give all of that chaotic energy back to the earth. And we can ritualize that too. We can ceremonialize that. But if that is just too much to think about, just take off your shoes and go walk outside and breathe some air and just be in nature. Virgo very much needs to live with the signs and the cycles of the seasons. It's very closely attributed to grain and the harvest. And so it needs to be a part of feeling like things die and then they go back to seed and then they're born again and then they harvest, or then they fruit and then they harvest, and then you sustained on that harvest. It really needs that natural cycle to slow down, because it can get very caught up in like the analyzation process, especially in our modern technical world. It needs to experience like a growing season, like the fullness of a growing season, and learn how to move with the flow of nature and nature's timing and cycles and seasons. So if you can find yourself involved in the harvest in some way, that would most likely be helpful. And then last but not least would be cleansing. So do me a favor and like engage in all of the senses and engage in all of the elements and smoke clear or sane yourself, which is the Celtic way of saying smudging, which is a Native American term. And I am Celtic. And so it's called saning, Saining, or smoke cleansing. And clear yourself, right? Take a bath with salt in it, or even just take a shower and scrub salt and ask the salt and the water to clear any energy off of you that doesn't serve you anymore, and watch it go down the drain, and thank the water. Thank the water for cleansing and clearing us. Maybe even smoke clear yourself when you get out. Dry yourself off with a white towel or just let yourself air dry. And then engaging in the senses, things like smell, using essential oils to clear the mind, using mantra to rewrite the script of the mind. One of the things about Virgo is it can be highly analytical and negative. It can be very pedantic. It can be very OCD and control oriented because it knows the divine order, but it needs the flow of its access point, which is Pisces. It needs the flow. It needs the cycles. And so see if you can start working with controlling the mind, the chitta, the mind shit, literally. See if you can start to control the mind versus the mind controlling you. And then fire, right? So coming back and maybe writing down your fears or the areas that you feel blocked, and burning them in the fire and thanking the fire for its protective and cleansing energies. So those are my thoughts for the new moon in Virgo. If you want more about the aspects, check out my blog. The link will be below. If you want to get a reading, I'm not doing readings until October. My books are full, but you can go ahead and grab a reading to get a sense of what's coming up for you as we get to the remainder of the year, or even just a natal chart reading, which is getting to know yourself, your stars, and your story. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope that you have a beautiful Virgo new moon. I think it's going to be so grounding and so powerful and impactful for the way that we continue to close out this season. I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.